was a great countdown.
You like that countdown? That was a fun countdown. All right, guys, let's talk about a movie that was made in 8 hours with a lunch included. Vampires Are Real. Before we get started to it, I want to show you the trailer so we know what we're talking about.
I'm Stuart.
And I'm Everett.
And these are the 3 rules of vampire hunting.
Cool.
Yeah, you might be wondering, why are they so big? It's because vampires like to get close.
Vampire hunting is a hazardous profession. I mean, most of our injuries come from shaving these steaks.
Yeah, I get a lot of splinters. That's why we're cutting the corners. Rule number 1, always use the buddy system when hunting vampires. Where I do that? No,
That's no better.
I got some wood in my mouth. Rule number 2, never be alone with a vampire.
Hunting vampires without actually being vampires, it's more just walking around with wood in our hands.
Rule number 3.
Freddy's! He's in danger! Got him! Got him! Got him! I'm just starting to think this is... Make her eat garlic! Yep. We got a vampire! We got a vampire! We got a vampire!
And there we go. We have Vampires Are Real. I got J.R. Timothy here with me. And now when we talk about a movie like this, how in the world do we make a movie in 8 hours that's a feature-length film? Like, where are we clocking? First off, where are we clocking in on this movie? How many minutes is it when it's all done?
The movie is an hour and 41 minutes.
An hour and 41 minutes, shot in 8 hours, and that included a lunch break.
Yeah, so it's a healthy feature-length film.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about it. First off, why vampires?
So vampires, just because it fell in kind of this cryptid mythos that we were going with. I made one movie earlier, last year, at the start of 2020, called Searching for Bigfoot. It's a terrible movie if you see it on YouTube. Like, if you watch it, you deserve a gold star just for sitting through and watching it. But it got so many views, and it's a terrible movie. The audio's bad. The camera work is not that great because we're just kind of passing the camera around. The story itself is kind of there, but it's not really there. It's just a bunch of improvising comedians throwing out a bunch of one-liners the whole time. And people were watching it, and because it generated so many views, I was thinking maybe there's an audience for this that would like it. So I thought, you know what, let's make another movie. Let's bump up the quality and the sound a little bit, and let's try just a little bit harder, because we also made that movie in a day, but it was, you just let the camera roll and you don't stop cutting, and you end up getting these really long takes that work pretty well, because as improvisers, you're used to telling a longer story. But yeah, we did vampires just because it fell into that Bigfoot, Loch Ness, vampires, werewolves. Like there will probably be a bunch of movies in that particular genre, because I think people like that stuff, but then they also like comedy. So I figured, let's put it together.
So when we're looking at something that's all improv, I would imagine it has to start still with some sort of outline. Even with the improv, you got to be able to still tell a story structure somewhere in there. So what is that process like?
So coming up with the story structure for it, it actually is still a very improvised moment. It's me sitting on my Google Docs going like, okay, what if we did this? And then Stuart and Everett, they can be talking about their buddies, and they'll talk about the different times that they've seen vampires, and we'll tell our rules of vampires. And so we kind of come up with like these plot points, but we won't necessarily iron out the details of every single line, because, you know, as an improvising comedian, I trusted Taylor to say good things, and he trusted me to say good things, and we trust our cameraman to be able to capture everything. So we kind of were just in the moment, and we had our script there. Script is a very loose term. It was 8 pages with bullet points going down of just relevant plot points that we needed to hit on. And it was kind of our checklist. Like, did we say that? All right, good. All right, got that. Got that. And there's actually a really funny blooper in the first scene of the movie that made it into the movie. It's a blooper, but you wouldn't know. It's just in there. When we start talking about the 3 rules of vampire hunting, in the trailer, I do the first 2 rules of vampire hunting. And when I get to the 3rd rule, I don't say anything. The reason we cut away from that in the trailer is because Taylor and I were doing it so fast on the fly that we accidentally repeated the 2nd rule as the 3rd rule. And we don't have a take of us saying the real 3rd rule of it. And so we had to just live with that. It's just a funny mistake that made it into the movie. And it was so funny because neither one of us realized it. Like, as I'm sitting there editing the movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, we didn't even realize that we said the wrong rule. The 3rd rule is like, assume everyone's a vampire, but it was fun. That was a really long explanation of bullet points and how to write a story.
No, I like that though, because here's the other part we had to look at. One of the things, and I know this is what you came up with your Bigfoot is like searching for Bigfoot video that you did before. Your biggest takeaway from that was you didn't have to spend weeks and a huge budget to make a feature film. There's something that's given to like an improv like this that I would imagine also stays in that same vein where you're not having to spend $250,000 to make a movie. Let's go ahead and talk about the nuts and bolts, the financials of it real quick. How much did you spend on Vampires Are Real?
Yeah, I don't care if people know that. Vampires Are Real, I think, totaled out at $80-ish. Most of that was spent on pizza. And we bought fangs for Ren's character. And then, man, was it really? It might have been even less than that. Did we? Oh, no. I also I bought wooden stakes from Home Depot and a couple pocket knives.
This is prior to 2021 when the price of wood is about $800 for a piece of 4x4.
Yeah. This was actually in the fall of 2020. So I had to walk in with my mask and we just whittled our wood and everything. But yeah, it worked. So we spent about $80 on the movie. We had better audio because our DP Josh just had some equipment that he really liked, and it was awesome. We boomed the whole thing, so we got a lot more atmosphere sound with it, which in my opinion just makes it sound better. So that was really helpful, and we had a audio guy there with us just booming us the whole time as we go back and forth. So frequently in the movie you can see him going back and forth because we leaned into the idea of it being kind of like a mockumentary. So it was okay if the camera work was a little shoddy or if we saw the boom operator in the shot sometimes. So because we leaned into that, it freed us up to be a lot more kitsch and not cheaper with it, but just like it was that style of movie where we could play with everything in our environment. Like, we didn't have to pretend the cameraman wasn't there. We could equally interact with the cameraman and the audio person, and just whatever random people ended up walking into our shots in one of the scenes at the park.
One of the things I hear a lot of people talk about when they're making a movie is they want to make this big, grandiose sort of thing so that they'll get a lot of recognition. Now, I believe you're already getting the recognition. You already got your distribution in place. It's actually coming out here very soon. When is it coming out, by the way?
It's coming out May 25th to streaming services near you.
Like 2 days away. 2 days away, guys. It's coming out to a streaming service near you. And again, you made the movie in 8 hours, including a lunch break, for $80. And so you kind of blew all these little mythos out of there that it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money to be able to secure distribution on a film. So what notes would you like to give to your fellow filmmakers that are out there that are, the biggest excuse being, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have resources. What are some of the advice you would give to a budding filmmaker looking to make their first feature film?
So for people looking to make their first feature film, you should just get it out of the way and think and don't think it's going to be something amazing. Um, I you gotta practice making movies first. The only reason Vampires Are Real existed was because I made a terrible movie called Searching for Bigfoot first, and I didn't spend a lot of money. I spent $60 on that movie, which was just in gas. We filled up my car with gas, and that was why. But you gotta make your first movie first, and you gotta just know that it's not going to be everything that you dreamed. You might get some moments in there like, yes, I love this. But for the most part, you just got to practice making movies. I made another one before Searching for Bigfoot that completely flopped. I was in way over my head. I wrote beyond my budget. I wrote beyond my locations. I wrote beyond my scope of what I was capable of. I wrote like $100,000 movie, and I was a kid in college, and it was wrong. Like while we were filming and everything, just so many snafus happened up. So start with your story. Start with a story that takes place in no more than 2 or 3 locations at most, and just plan accordingly. That you don't need to take a long week if your locations are really nearby each other. Maybe plan a day per location, and then just get all the shots that you need in that day, and just shot or wide establishing shot, reverse shot. That takes a lot of time, and that's kind of why we did Vampires Are Real in the way that I wanted to, because we didn't have to worry about a wide and then a shot and reverse shot. We just had to get the wide and treat it like a live performance, like Taylor and I do on stage every weekend in Provo. So we capture what we were able to do as people and our cameraman. And so you gotta write for what you can do. You gotta write for what you can afford, the locations you can go to. Make your story centered around what's available to you, instead of writing a story you wish you could tell. Just get your legs under you first and write what you can do, and just get your practice in.
One of the things a lot of filmmakers ask other filmmakers, or especially in this group, is how do they measure success in their film? And sometimes that's down to a monetary standpoint. But how do you judge success for Vampires Are Real coming out?
My success for me is always measured by laughs. If you laugh at this movie, I will consider it a success. It's awesome if 1 billion people see it, or 1 million, or even 100,000. Like for me, I'll consider it a success if you laugh, because my investment in it is, as you all know, was X. So I want it to go out to as many places as possible. It'd be amazing for it to be this insane Napoleon Dynamite revenue generator for me that I wasn't expecting. But thinking realistically, it's probably not going to be that. But it's probably something that will make a lot of people laugh, which was my intention for making this movie. Because if I can make you laugh and you really like this movie, and it was that easy to produce, then that means it's worth taking that like week preparation time and doing something I enjoy doing, which is making movies and making people laugh and putting it in a way that you can share it with everyone. So that's how I measure success for this.
I love it because I just love getting the different perspective of the different filmmakers we have here in Utah. We have a lot of resources. When people talk about they don't have resources, it always makes me scratch my head. We have like 70 some odd Facebook groups just for Utah filmmakers. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You can just call up anybody and say, "Hey, you want to work on a freebie? And you want, no one's getting paid. Just, I'm spending $80 on this whole thing. I'll feed you." That's about it. Or even we even put, and that's for somebody who doesn't have friends yet. So if you have friends, then at least you can give them a call and be really direct and say, "Hey, let's go shoot something this weekend. It's just going to be as long as you would put in a normal work day, and we'll call it good."
Yeah. And that's kind of how Vampires Are Real was. Me and Josh, sorry, Josh Miller, he was our DP for it, and Taylor is a comedian I work with. And I told him, hey guys, let's make a feature film movie, but we're only going to take a day to do it, and we're not going to do like a million takes of something. Most of the time, the takes that you see in the movie are the first or second take that we did. We didn't repeat a lot of stuff at all. And they were both down. It was a lot of fun. Just the fact that like we could say we made a feature film and have it look the quality that it was. We were like, yeah, this is awesome. And then Ren, who came in with her contact, she was able to find distribution for it, which also blew my mind because I was like, wow, they really want to put this on a video platform with their streaming services. So I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. We'll see what happens anyways.
Well, that's neat, man. That is really neat. Okay, so you did mention that you were wanting to do a whole series of these things if people laugh at it, right?
Yeah.
What is percolating in your brain for the next one? What are you thinking you want to do for your next film?
Surprise. There is actually going to be a trilogy coming out for Vampires Are Real. And you will not have to wait very long for the second one, which is called Vampires Are Too Real. Because we continue the story. We throw in a few more Utah actors in there. Mary Hall's in it. Dave Martinez is in it this time with me and Taylor. And we go through, we continue on with the story, and then we come back to, it doesn't matter, you guys will see it. But the idea was to release the sequel the same day as the first one comes out on our YouTube channel, and then we'll link to the original movie in all the different streaming services it is. Because I feel bad because my YouTube channel, they really wanted more improv stuff. So that's what we made the second one for. We did the same one with the second one. We'll use it as kind of a marketing tool to drive people to the original one.
So you've already shot the second one and edited the second one, and it's going to go up same day and date. So also in 2 days then.
Yeah, also in 2 days. So boom, Mike, big surprise.
Big surprise. I had no idea. So that's kind of cool. Well, we're looking for the three. I'll be interested to see what wordplay you have for the third one when it comes out. Okay, guys, just a reminder, this is Vampires Are Real. It's coming out tomorrow. No, not tomorrow, in 2 days. 2 days, on Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday in 2 days. And then I'm assuming you're going to be able to share some links with us here so that we can pop it on here in this Utah Filmmakers interview so that people know where they can go and see the movie on all the different streaming platforms. And
yeah, the big ones it'll be on is Amazon Prime and iTunes. And if you still watch television, it'll be on Dish Network.
Oh.
That one's a big one. And then it's on a bunch of other ones like Google Play, Vudu, Slingshot. Those are just some of the more colorful names I can remember. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty widespread digital distribution right there.
Yeah. I was really happy with it. I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
Very cool. Well, JR, it's been fun chatting with you, my friend. Congratulations on the success. All right, guys, if you have a movie that's coming out and you want to promote it and you're in this Utah Filmmakers group, go ahead and just drop me a message. Say, Warren, I got something coming out. Can we do it? Because that's what we did. You know, JR Timothy here's like, hey, what you think? You want to help a brother out? And I'm like, sure. Why not? All right, guys. It's been fun. Talk to y'all later now. Have a great Sunday.
Love you.